And we're live. Hey guys, how's it going? I've got
Nate. Hey, Mo.
Dan and Nate here with me tonight. We're going to do our little war game chat. We're going to see how this goes. First time we're doing it. We've all done kind of various war game chats, but tonight we're going to do a new one that, we're just going to try something different. Just a general chat. We were talking backstage about some stuff, and I think we'll let Nate and Dan start that off about content creation and what you guys do in your channels and what we all could do better and how we can work better with publishers and publishers can work better with us.
Nate, you want to take this one?
All right. The basic gist of what we were talking about was the sales that we generate by doing the content that we create versus basically what do the publishers owe us in return for that. And it's a symbiotic relationship is the way to look at it, because to get your name out there, you actually have to create the content. So you have to buy a certain amount on your own just to get your name recognized so people understand who you are and they like what you're putting out. And the specific game we were talking about was Core Space, because Dan asked me, hey, did they send you the game? I'm like, no, they didn't send me the game. I bought the game. And he's like, well, you sold so many. Everybody's trying to buy it now because they saw the playthrough that you did on it. And that's great, but that company had no reason to send it to me before I created the content for it. You get what I'm saying?
Yes and no.
All right, what are you thinking, Dan?
He's slowing
down. I'm thinking I understand what you're saying, because you're you're like me. You're a humble human being and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that you have a reputation. You put in time. A lot of people watch your show, Nate. I watch your show, and I learn stuff. And it's basically what you're doing. And Rodney Smith, I was going to say Rodney King. Rodney Smith had a two-part episode on this, saying that should reviewers get paid, and will that skew the outcome of the review? Now, personally, I say no. Yes, they should get paid. No, it won't skew the review. Obviously, we're not going to diss the company something fierce. We're just going to offer our opinion. And it's our opinion saying whether you think this game is worth the money, whatever component-wise, this and this and that. But I don't think doing stuff, and you know what, I'm probably shooting myself in the face here, doing stuff for free, Nate, that you buy their game, you advertise for them, and what they do is give you a, hey, thanks, in the majority of the situations. It's business, man. If I have, like, let's say on the Dice Tower, okay, Nate, I'm fortunate to be on the Dice Tower on a segment which there's 8,000 views a week. Now, I'm part of that 8,000 views, okay?
You got onto the Dice Tower? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I do a war segment on the Dice Tower, and I do it my way, okay? So anyways.
The Canadian way?
Yeah.
Canadian A.
Hey, what's wrong with that? And anyways, what I'm trying to say is that there should be, like you said, a symbiotic relationship between the publishers and the people who advertise for them. Because if you want to advertise your war game, you're going to have to pay money to whomever you want to advertise. But, there's some companies that say, hey, we're giving you the game for free. Now, us three, and more than us three, we know what a game costs if you print 3,000 or 5,000. So it's like, really? No.
Well, that whole, reviewer getting compensated thing that gets brought up generally on the hobby side of the market all the time it's literally beating a dead horse, and it's a dumb argument. And the people who want to sit there and say, well, a reviewer is going to, they shouldn't get paid. They shouldn't get a free game. They shouldn't get anything. It's like, okay, well, why don't you then spend your time and effort and go buy the game and spend multiple hours playing it, learning it, playing it, and then creating content for it, and then come back and talk to me. Until then, shut up. That's kind of the attitude I've got about that at this point with people, because it's the squeaky wheels getting the grease type of thing, and how that conversation even gets any acknowledgement anymore is beyond me. But Nate, you continue on with your answer.
Look, I get the point that Dan's making, and it's not that I disagree with it. I just think that there's a chicken and an egg situation here. Which comes first? And the thing of it is you have to, it's kind of like starting your own business, right? Most small businesses have to prepare to not be profitable for the first couple of years that you're doing it, right? I think that a channel is similar in that vein because they have no reason to send you anything, to pay you, to give you games, nothing like that until you've got something more established that they know that it's going to be worth actually sending you some product because people are going to see it and buy it. You have to think you have to sell a game maybe just to make it worth it, a couple of games, whatever. I know that just by the comments that I've received from some people and some of the comments in the channel that I've sold, I would guess maybe 600 to 1,000. I would roughly guess for core space. So would I think that it would behoove them to send me some expansions? Yeah, because I've made some money in their pocket. Do they have to? Do they owe me anything? No. Could it be more profitable for them to take that product and to send it to someone else who has a bigger channel and a farther reach? Probably. I've just got to be realistic about it and understand that no one owes me anything. And if they choose to, help me out and work with me, that's great. Actually, the reason I'm as big as I am now is because David took a chance with me when I very first started, and he liked what I did when he saw a couple of my videos, and he's like, hey man, I want to work with you. I want to help you out. And a week later, a couple of big boxes arrived at my house, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. And my wife was like, no, this is not awesome. This is not a good thing
for it.
And that's actually what started me down the path, like really sticking with it. I'm like, okay, I'm actually doing something here that's working. Some people are liking it. This stuff's showing up, and I like where this is going. But he didn't owe me anything until I'd already done something for him.
And you know what? Dave is business minded and he's smart. Okay. And it benefits us and it benefits him. And it's, like you said, a symbiotic relationship. It's beautiful. Yes, absolutely. David helped me out and continues to help me out, as does another company like DVG, Dan Verson. This guy's amazing. Just like David. These guys support people like us without question. There are other companies who
pause for a sec. Y'all say hey to my brother. He's actually in the comments.
Is that Matt? Matt Rogers?
Yeah, that's my twin brother.
That's
Matt,
why.
how are you, man?
That's why I said we got to put this up beard there. He doesn't have the sexy beard. He said that Nate's big because of the random drop-in guests, and that's the big guest right there, Matt Rogers.
I was telling him about this. He was wanting to play some Xbox this evening. I was like, I got something I got to do, bud.
Nice.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, you know what? I was talking to, and I don't know if I should name this designer, but I'm not going to, okay? And he was saying that he wanted to start, in a designer point of view, a union. Because in Quebec, we're huge on unions. Huge! I mean, Chicago doesn't hold anything to Quebec in unions. But anyways.
Are they as corrupt?
Oh, more so. It's incredibly corrupt.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like they can shoot each other. I mean, they can hit each other with a hockey stick or something.
Hey, Nate. I don't know what you're talking about, man. But
I gotta mess with you, dude.
So he wanted to start a designers union because, designers get a certain amount of money, this and that, whatever. And these designers, they work extremely long time to make this bloody game. And I'm sure the publishers have costs, printing costs, advertising costs, this and this and that detract from what the designer is going to get. And it's normal. It's distribution, advertising, blah, blah, blah. They're putting in the big bucks, right? But this guy, he must have put about, 3 years worth of time into designing a game. So what I'm trying to say is that guys like us, Nate and Mo, and other people, we should have a little bit more, not clout, for lack of a better word, a little bit more pull in having publishers taking us a little bit more seriously, because what we do, we love what we do, because we would not be doing this. I'm sure all of us will agree. And after a while, it's nice to be recognized by our peers, by the people who make these games.
By the industry, I think is what
by the industry. It's not, man, look, the amount of time that you're putting into Core Space, Nate, you're on episode 6. You know why I know that? Because I do the bloody news. So I'm up your ass all the time. Anyways, whatever.
I think it's a good point, but at the same time, you know, I think that you're maybe being a little tougher on publishers. There are some publishers that are really great working with content creators, and then there are some that, you know, just don't pay attention to them much at all, and then others that just, you know, kind of ignore it.
And you know which one that is, Mo.
Well, yeah, but they'll take what they get, but they don't, you know, they just, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do, and that's that. But anybody who's like that, it's like anything else. When you have a publisher that's not going to work with you, you don't do their stuff. If you have a publisher that works with you, you do more of their stuff. You know, it's just the way it works. It also really comes down to what free time you have, because this is all done free, you know, on our own time. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times people get busy, and you can't do the things you want to do. You go in there with the intent of, I got to get this done, or I want to get this done. And then next thing you know is 6 months go by and you're like, holy crap, I didn't even do what I was going to do because the day job got in the way or life got in the way.
You're right about that.
You know, Mo, I do agree with you, but I've put myself in a position to be the news guy. So I have to be very unbiased here. Everybody has to be, because I'm the news guy type guy, right? This guy's doing this and this guy's doing that, but it's very hard. It's very hard, and even for me at this point, to say that this guy's doing this for this company, where I know full well that this company does not support anybody. Zilch, nada. It's becoming a little difficult.
Yeah.
But karma kind of comes around on that, because just like Mo was saying,
should be a priest.
Hear me out here. Mo is right that publishers that support the reviewers, the YouTubers, the columnists, the podcasters, whoever it is, it doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be whoever, but
sure, supports
people out there doing what we do. They get more attention. And I can tell that just by looking at my own channel. There's many, many more videos, because in a way I do feel like I'm obligated towards those who have sent me something, right?
Yeah.
So if they send me something, I put that one to the head of the list. That's going to be put above one that I want to do just because I want to do it. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it's going to be like that with everything. But there is the drawback to it. And I think David really understands this. I will always be honest when it comes to my opinion of a game, but I might not be as horribly brutal if I'm friendly with the publisher. All right? Like, I remember one game that I reviewed, and it was botched real bad when it came to the solitaire component, and I chewed it to bits. But I'd never worked with the company either, so I had no personal stake, and I don't care what happens to them. I think that a lot of publishers out there do make a good decision, and this sounds wrong when you say it that way, but by becoming friendly with the YouTubers, yeah, they might not like your game, but they won't go out of their way to destroy it either. They'll say the truth. I don't like these aspects about it. I don't think this is good, or I don't think that's good, but they're not going to just destroy it outright. Does that kind of, you get what I'm saying there?
Yes, but I have variations on a theme that you're saying.
Well, there's a comment from Mr. Had Never Been to Europe. Get paid. He says, for content creators, get paid. Just let us know what the relationship is. We will figure out how reliable the review is when we get the game, which is true.
He's right there.
Yeah, he's 100% true. Now, I'm not saying that we're looking to get paid. I'm just saying that if someone was to get paid, that you're going to do the review whether you get paid or not. And me personally, I think that you should not get paid for reviews. A preview is a giant paid advertisement. That's different. When you're doing a review, it's literally an opinion piece. When it's a preview, you're showcasing the game. You're literally creating an ad for the game. So you're really not going to have as much opinion per se. If you do, it's going to be generally on the safe, positive side. You're not going to be as critical with a preview as you are with a review. So that may be a little bit different, but either way, content creation comes in many forms. It could be, game playthroughs. Gimpy does a lot of the review throughs, he calls them, where he plays through the game and gives you his thoughts, which is a great way of doing it. And then you have you with the news, Dan. You do a lot of, you do all the news every week. So you're like the mainstream media of wargaming.
I have nothing to say but what's factual. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. And then,
then he's not like
me.
the mainstream media.
No.
Then we have people like me that, primarily, unfortunately, I'm end up doing more unboxings than anything else because it's easier on my time, my scheduling to do that. But I do try to do the unboxings differently. I don't say, hey, here's the game and here's some cards and here's some counters. That's kind of boring. I like to do it in a preview type format because then you're, creating like an ad for the game and, showing people what they're getting for their hard-earned dollars. Because before they go drop $70 on a game, what's inside it? And, how does it work? Give me a fair, basic understanding. And then I'll look at it and go, yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm going to go buy it. I've gotten many messages on people who have bought a game because they saw the unboxing, or they didn't buy it because they're like, I was thinking it was going to be cool, but it doesn't look like it's for me. Informed decisions.
Well, Mo, unboxings are, look, unboxing,
Controversial.
and you could choose what you want to unbox, okay? And the thing is that I know you, and you unbox a lot of stuff, and I've spoken to you many times, and even though you have a certain opinion of a company, you're still gonna unbox the bloody thing. You're still gonna do it, and
Sure.
you know what? Kudos to you, Mo. But you know what? It's weighing heavy on me, especially for guys like you, for guys like Nate, and for guys like Stuka Joe, for guys like I'm gonna forget a lot of stuff, and like there's some quality content there, okay? Even in our little niche, in our little like pathetic little niche, this and this and that. Hey, the Players 8 have 6,000 subscribers. That's 6,000 people. So every week,
Time out. Just to FYI, and Mo back me up on this.
Are you going to say they have 5,558 Russian bots or something?
No. Take whatever the subscriber number is, and generally you can multiply that by at least double, and that's how many people watch the channel.
Yeah.
Because roughly 60% of the people that watch my channel aren't subscribed to it.
okay.
True.
So thank you for saying that, Nate.
It's something a lot of people don't understand is the majority of people don't subscribe to the channel. So, but it's getting views from all those others. So you can multiply it by, whatever, but usually double it. And that's who's watching it.
And there's a great comment there from Itinerant Hobbyists saying unboxings are great because everyone's buying online. So
That's
you
right.
don't have that tangible pick the box up and look at it. You got to rely on what somebody does, which is where unboxings do have value. Now, some people hate them, but
No,
I think they
I
have a
don't
place.
hate unboxings at all. And you know what? I might sound like I'm bitching a lot, and I probably am bitching a lot, but
You are.
yeah, I
Someone's
love
got
what
to.
I'm doing, and I swear to God, I do, because or else I drop it because we're seriously. But it's just respect of your peers, man.
Sure.
Like when I was in music, that's what I wanted the most. I wanted respect of the people higher than me to say, "Hey, man, you're doing good. You're doing this," or a critique of like how you can improve. And when I went to WBC, the only time I went to WBC, I knew some publishers who wouldn't even look at me. I know they know.
They didn't look down enough. That's what it was. You were just below their eye level.
That's messed up.
Well, I gotta dial Dan back here. He's getting too worked up. So I had to make a little bit of humor in there.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate it, Mo, because you knocked the wind out of me.
You
So,
gotta take the wind from the sails every so often.
All I'm saying is that we matter. We
do.
My brother's actually made this point to me before, and I agree with it. And you can equate this to other types of channels, like Warhammer channels or video game channels, that a lot of the ones that become bigger and they become the paid voice of whatever company it is, they actually hit a point to where they're no longer trusted, because the people who used to watch them now think of them as shilling for the company, because it only takes one time for you to put out a review saying X is great and X is actually a piece of garbage. I can't remember the specific video game it was, but I remember it released, and IGN and Kotaku and Polygon and all of those were giving the game 8s and 9s and rating it excellent. But then when the user reviews came out, they were like 2s and 3s and saying it was garbage and it was horrible. And it was some EA game. I forget what it was, but
Oh, there you go. That's all you need to say. EA.
Yeah. But
there is a
then,
lot of ad dollars that get put into video game sites.
And they knew that, well, this is garbage, and now we can no longer trust any of these sites because they shilled for the company when they knew this was garbage. All they had to do was play it, and of course they played it, but they still rated it an 8, or some of the ones that were more honest and gave it a 6, that was higher than it deserved, and people don't trust them. And that same thing can happen to the industry that we're in. So if I had a company paying me bukus of dollars to review and do all their stuff, I would still be honest about it. But how many people are going to believe what I say now?
That already happens in this industry, though.
I would have to put it out there. I have been paid for this review. Like literally, they gave me a $20 bill and said, review this game, or whatever it is. And a bunch of people would have it in the back of their mind. I know I do when I watch review channels. Is this really what they think? Are they truly being honest? I have an advantage that a lot don't, that I do have a lot more free time to dedicate to this, which is the reason that I can do review throughs and play the game and review it while I'm working on it. And, most don't have that kind of free time to dedicate to it. And that's worked out in my favor. I don't know. I agree with what you're saying, Dan. I feel like, yeah, it'd be great if they toss us some, pay for it, toss games, whatever it is. But there has to be that point of I've put in the effort beforehand to get there. You get what I'm saying?
Well, you don't think you've put in the effort, Mo? I mean, Nate?
I think Mo's put in the effort, yeah.
No, Nate.
Yes. Obviously, I think I've put in the effort. Hell, I've put in thousands of hours.
You know what? Just watching your reviews, I know you have integrity. And I personally am telling me I have integrity. So, no, I'm not going to fall into this. Look, if I don't like a game, I'm not going to review it. If I was a reviewer, I would tell the publisher, I'm sorry, I don't like this game, but I don't want to diss you, so I'm not going to review it. Okay?
You can do that too. But the thing is I don't even worry about the reviews, because war games are a different aspect of the hobby. Now you have what I call hobby games, the Euros and everything, social games, all that stuff. I just call them hobby games just to differentiate between war games and every other board game out there. War games are a different beast because, number one, learning them takes far longer. There's more effort that needs to be put into them. Actually playing a game all the way through, if you're going to do a review, it could take weeks to play through a game. Some games could take months, So generally, if you're going to give a review on a game, you're going to give it on your first play, first several turns even, because you get a good vibe on how the game's playing in the first few turns on a big giant game, and say, you know what, I have a good opinion on this. I can share, my thoughts on it. And again, a review is just an opinion. No one's is right. No one's is wrong, except if they're
wrong.
Well, no, I wasn't finished. You're getting like Dan.
Sorry.
No one's right. No one's wrong. But there are people who are not informed, or there are people that do reviews that read a rule book, don't play the game, and do a review, and that's not the proper service that you're performing either. But then again, if you're not paid, it's not a big deal. But be that as it may, I think we've beaten this horse to death for a while. Let's talk about something else a little fun. I think that we can get some audience participation here. It's 2020. So let's talk about, in everyone's opinion, what is the biggest war game news or war games in the past decade?
In the
Dan, you first.
Decade.
Past decade.
Bloody.
That's 10 years, Dan.
How would you go say back that, Canadian? Decade, eh?
Decade. It's the last decade, eh?
You know what? When it comes to me personally, I actually don't play many war games because I'm so invested in content in my channel. And but I would say I've really enjoyed. Like I'm a solo guy, okay, because there's nobody around in my neighborhood. For Pete's sake, I enjoy solo games, okay? Like really, I do. And I've enjoyed like decision games, Struggle for Galactic Empire, mix it like Isaac Asimov type Foundation game. I really like that. Um, games like Fred Manzo's game that he just put out, like Escape from Hades, where it's and light and fluffy, man. I want light and fluffy at my age, man. And I mean, I'm just looking around here. Some man, I can't believe I'm saying this. Some old Victory Point games. I can't believe they're out. I mean, there was some cute games like little small games. It's precious, like Zulus on the Rampart. I really enjoyed that, and I still do. D-Day at Omaha Beach, RAF by John Butterfield.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really enjoy that game a lot. I'm more into the newer games than the older games, the old Hex Encounter games, because the old Hex Encounter
We're
game,
only going back the past decade. That's not that old.
Depends on your perspective.
Well, yeah. Now, I would say, like, for example, I'm going to say, as far as war game changes in the past decade, two influential games, two big games that I think really are big that change things is Labyrinth and Andean Abyss. You had that CDG really started taking hold in the early tens of this century, I guess you could say. You have Labyrinth, which is solitaire or 2-player, and then you have Andean Abyss, which introduced the coin system. And the reason why I say it's a big change is because it wasn't your standard traditional Hex Encounter war game. It started, that Euro blending of Euro and war game.
It was asymmetrical.
It's asymmetrical. It's Euro mechanics and it's war game sensibilities, which is a draw to non-war gamers that they get intimidated by Hex Encounter games and they say, oh, well, this is kind of a Euro. I could try that. And then the next thing you know is they've come to the dark side and they're looking up Hex Encounter games and, that's great.
You're talking about coin.
The coin system and Labyrinth. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know anything about coin. For some reason, I'm intimidated by it. I don't know why.
Don't be. I used to be too.
It literally is not as difficult as you think. They're fairly simple. It's a fairly simple system. It's not. I don't mean simple in a bad way. I'm just saying it's a simple system to understand. Each one has its own little intricacies and nuances that you'll get after you play them multiple times. But you could play with the bots, or you could play it solitaire by yourself, all four sides, or you could play with up to 4 people at a con or whatever. But they're really good at. I think they're a great blend of the Euro and Wargame part of the hobby to bring more people into the Wargame side.
Yeah, it really does look harder than it is. Kind of like that one. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I'll tell you what. I'll jump on this topic, and I'll give you one that you guys might not agree with. But for me, it's more of a personal thing because it's kind of what got me into the hobby, and that's A World at War by GMT. And I'm saying one that I actually haven't played. I have it. It's on the shelf, but I haven't played it. And the reason it's like my game of the decade is because it's what really got me into the real war game hobby. Because when I was looking up war games and trying to figure it out, I read this article a guy had written about the game, and he was talking about this grand experience he had with him and his buddy, and they took 6 months to learn the instruction booklet, and he's like, I was determined I was going to learn how to play this game, and they even rented a cabin, and they went there and they sat down and they were poring over the rules and setting out the map and the counters, and they were going to actually play this, and they sat down and they played it, and of course it's the slog that it is. But I remember sitting there thinking, wow, there's a board game out there that could take you months to learn how to play, and it's got multiple maps, and you could play it for a year and not actually beat it. That sounds like awesome. That sounds like a really cool experience. I'm like, I've got this whole spare room. This is back when I had one kid, not two, not three.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got this whole spare room. I can set up a big table and put that out. And strangely enough, I didn't end up getting a World at War first. I was choosing between that and Absolute Victory as my first big choice because I wanted to jump in with both feet. So I got that one because it was huge and it was cheaper than a World at War. I think I couldn't find a copy of World at War. They hadn't reprinted it, so all the copies were like $200 or $300 that I could find. I think I got that one for like 120.
Nice.
So for me, that would be it. Just the knowledge, because I didn't know. I never played war games when I was a kid. I played dumb games with my brother, like that Mousetrap game and the Hungry Hippos. This was like when we were 18 and in college. I didn't realize there were actually cool games out there. So.
Oh man! And you know what?
A lot of people don't realize what kind of board games are out there still.
No, but I'd love to play Mousetrap now, or Flying Louie, or something Louie there.
See, now that's a good point. What Nate said about you don't know, he didn't know that there were really cool games out there. Now think about it from the war game perspective. There's a lot of non-war gamers who don't realize how cool war games are and how many war games are very approachable. And that's one of the things that I think that we're able to do as content creators is to make sure that people understand, hey, war games are not all 700 page manuals and 40-foot wide maps. It's not like joining the military. There are some games that are really deep like that. It's really the retirement fantasy game that everybody wants to play that no one probably will, or very few will actually get to play.
War in the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing. War for North Africa, those things are Campaign for North Africa. I mean, those types of games are going to be difficult to play from beginning to end, but there are plenty of games that you can play in an hour or two. And those are the ones that people can jump right in and they're really not complex. There are some that are 4-page, 8-page, 12-page manuals that really are not difficult to grok. And that's what, our job is to make sure that people understand there's all sorts of war games out there. So don't be intimidated by them.
Yeah. No, I don't know if I'm missing a point here.
Yeah, it's gone right over your head.
Yeah, obviously everything does.
Give me that softball.
By the way, I don't like softball, but because I'm privileged to be on the dice tower and see the other side, right? And I speak to my girlfriend many, many times about this. It's like, why can't I grab these people? It's the theme of war, man. Nobody wants to do war.
Well, there you go. Harold Buchanan says Mousetrap was awesome. Played it over the holiday. Hey, Harold, how's it going? Good to see you in the channel.
It's gotta take Harold to cut the breath out of me, man.
All right, what are you upset about? Dan, my brother was actually messaging me saying that Dan is the angriest Canadian he's ever seen.
You know what? I think your brother's got a problem.
Well, look who he grew up with.
The angriest Canadian. What's the matter with that guy, man?
And Dan with the Michigan shirt again. Oh, Harold's just on a tear tonight.
No, and look, Harold, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Harold, I'm sorry. It's a comfy shirt. I bought it for $3 in Nova Scotia. Give me a break.
I gotta say, I'm backwards. Yeah, Steger. I don't know how to.
Stigler.
Stigler.
And Harold with the hat trick says, seeing the three of you together should prove to them how cool war games are. Absolutely agree.
Now, I agree with him. The ones that are marked as quick plays, and I think that's for every game, is synonymous with shallow or lacking depth. I kind of think that when it comes to the more generalized games that you'll see people just picking up at Barnes & Noble, places like that, the games that I try to kind of get the wife to play with me, that if it's easy to learn, it's not going to be something that captures my attention. Now, I've been wrong. There are plenty out there that don't have a whole lot of chrome that are still fun to play. But yeah, I gotta agree. I kind of turn back like, I don't really get it. No, I'd rather have something that's deep. I have to think about it. I can really sink my teeth into it for a period of time versus something I'm just going to play for a few minutes,
What about like any type of social type of game? And don't yell before you hear what I'm saying. You know, you have a game like Code Names. Have you ever played that?
Code Names, no.
Okay, that's a really fun game. You play with a group of people. Spyfall is another one. You play that at a con
Is it
late
kind
at
of like
night.
that Ultimate Werewolf type stuff? Secret
Kind
Hitler.
of, sort of, but actually a better game. I'm not really big in werewolf, but it's that same type of feel, kind of. But like Spyfall is great. For example, Spyfall, there's like a common theme. You're on the space station, for example. This happened at BGG-Con a few years ago, several years ago actually. We were all playing probably about 3 o'clock in the morning after everybody is feeling comfortable, and Rodney was playing with us from Watch It Played, and the location was a space station, and one of you is the spy and everyone else is on the location, and everyone is kind of, you give a hint as to, you ask a question, can you do this, can you do that, and whoever's a spy amongst you is trying to get this information and realize, oh, this is where they are, and everyone else is trying to verify who is not the spy, and you're trying to ferret out the spy. And it's really a fun game with the right group. And the first question we had was, you were on the space station. I said, Rodney, can you go ahead and open the window for me, please? And he said, sure. And I was like, I put my hand up. Everyone goes, I think I know who the spy is. It's Rodney. He's like, why? What's the location? Space station. You can't open the window on a space. Well, you could, but it would be a bad day. But so games like that can be fun. I mean, they're totally different than war games, but games are meant to be entertaining and enjoyable, and everyone has different levels of entertainment. But there's a place for those games.
No, I agree with you on that. I haven't heard of Spyfall. Recently I got Secret Hitler, and I want to try that one out with my neighbors, see how that works out. But we haven't actually got to sit down and play it yet. But I like the idea of eliminating the bad guys. My neighbors are all Yankees, so they lean the other direction. So I'm kind of worried about bringing them a board game that has political undertones.
See, even your brother knows that Spyfall's fantastic.
He gets a few things right. He doesn't get into board games specifically. He's bigger into miniatures and Warhammer and that type stuff. He likes to paint the minis and then line them all up and kind of put on a dress and dance around. It's his own little thing that he likes to do.
Well, we were talking before. I said about how I thought, the big changes in the last 10 years, Labyrinth and the coin system really did change war games in a really positive way. Another one that I'm going to bring up, another GMT one I'm going to bring up, I think is a great system that came out in 2012. I think it was the first one, was the Next War series. Next War Korea came out, I think it was 2012, and then it had 3 more, so there's 4 in a series now, and there's another one on the way, Next War Vietnam. But that really, I think, took off as a great series, and GMT has really backed it with a great support site, and there's a couple supplements out, and I really think that is the go-to. It probably is the only modern conflict what if series out there right now.
I just saw a comment here. Robert Moffat said Warfighter from DVG. I'm impressed by that. That's a nice crossover game that I can get some Euro people in, because I'm not going to say there's RPG elements to it, but you still have to soup up your squad and this and that, and you got to go in, and I think it's great. I think it's great. It's not
I agree with you.
Counter. It's not a heavy grognard game. I'm sorry, grognards, but you know what? I'm 55 years old. Yeah, give me a break, man. I want to have something light. I want to have a glass of wine, a pasta, and play a light game. What is this? A 200-year-old? Stop me, please.
Some people do. I've heard the comments. They've gotten onto DVG and they think that they've gone down the wrong path by
no way
doing zombies and looking towards doing the Warhammer fantasy.
No way.
And, yeah, I love
fantastic.
Those
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them out there, I think, are purist, so they think that anything that's not historical, like the game that DVG had recently, Fudge Nut. I did the preview of the review for What Remains. All right, so there was For What Remains, and then there was the mech Kickstarter. They had Valkyrie.
Valkyrie.
Okay.
Right.
For What Remains did fund. The Mech Warrior one didn't fund when they took it to Kickstarter. And I think part of the problem is that so many people are history purists, and since there are no mechs in history and there's no sci-fi stuff, anything that's not anything that is sci-fi, they don't want to go for it.
So the easiest way to fix that is to build the world and start feeding people the world and make them want to know more about the world before they back the Kickstarter, make them get invested. Because when it comes to sci-fi stuff like Battletech or any of these games, they have a rich universe, and you can steep yourself in that universe to where you go, you know what, I like this house or that clan or whatever. And it gives me, because I like the whole idea of why am I fighting? I like to buy in on the system. If I'm just playing to shoot pews at each other, it's like, yeah, okay, kind of cool. We're rolling dice. Yeah.
See, For What Remains did that though. The instruction booklet had the backstory of why this war between these weird factions was going on. And I actually found myself reading the rule book, reading the little blurbs, getting done with it, and going, I would read this book. I want to know what the deal is, what happened. Like, it was actually interesting. And I really tried, probably not successfully, to convey that to the viewers when I was talking about the game itself. That was innovative. And that was from David Thompson, great designer. Love everything that he puts out. I'm actually going to be doing a preview of something of his that he's working on now towards the end of this month. So stay on the lookout for that. But yeah, great stuff. I just wish more people would go for it. And it kind of makes me worry about Lock and Load, because they're getting ready to do the Lock and Load Tactical Space Infantry. You guys seen that?
Yeah.
Hold on. David said he was not going to go tactical with space.
No, it's
it's the Space Infantry counters. So there'll be counters representing space infantry and their troops and their vehicles and everything, but it'll be operating on the Lock and Load Tactical.
Right.
The whole thing
with David Moe just a couple of weeks ago or something.
Yeah, it's in the works, but the whole thing with Warfighter is Warfighter. The people who may knock it, like you guys were saying, is they're looking for the hardcore tactical game. They want the ASL, where as I always joke, ASL. I'm gonna run out of this building and go across the front lawn here to shoot at this guy. I've got to roll to see if I trip on the sill of the door before I step or the threshold before I step over. I've got to roll to see if I slip on the wet grass, depending on the time of day. If there's a +2 modifier on the dew at 6 a.m., that's great. There are people that love that.
The dungeon masters are run for their money. That's why I won't even touch that game.
Absolutely.
And that's great. I mean, if that's what you want, that's what's fun, go for it. Absolutely have fun with it. It's a long running series for a reason. But then there are other people that, either they don't want to buy in and go that deep onto a tactical system, but they want that tactical flavor. Play Warfighter or Undaunted Normandy. Undaunted Normandy has gotten both praise and some criticism that I think is, incorrect to do. There's some in the Wargame community that have knocked it because it's not hardcore enough. There's, line of sight isn't done the way it should be. It's like, what? It's everybody has an opinion, and what? Bottom line is that game is not for you. And that's why there are so many games out there, because there are some for you, some for other people. Either way, be thankful people are playing war game type war themed games or conflict simulations, as Harold always likes to call them, rather than war games, that they're interested in this side of the hobby.
I remember playing Risk when I was younger, right? And Risk, it wasn't deep enough for me. So I enjoyed the war game aspect of it, but I wanted something deeper. And that Risk game got me into Hex Encounter games. So Undaunted Normandy, whether line of sight or line of schmight, whatever, if you're interested into this tactical type stuff and you want to go deeper, well, there's room to go deeper, and it's a gateway game, and it's great, man.
Sure. And Robert brings up a good point with ASL. Don't forget to look both ways before you cross the street, because that will give you a negative GM on your roll.
Is that an actual rule?
Probably. I have no idea. I've not really dug into ASL that much. My tactical game of choice is L&L Tactical. Conflict of Heroes is another great one. The new third edition rules are fantastic. Academy is another game company that does really top notch.
Can
production.
I announce something for Conflict of Heroes?
Oh, sure.
Just a FYI to those who are watching, I'm going to be doing a giveaway for Conflict of Heroes later this month. So it'll be the third edition. I'm going to have one each of Awakening the Bear and Storms of Steel. So you guys stay tuned for the channel. End of the month, you'll see me doing a playthrough of Storms of Steel, and that's where I'll announce the specifics of how you can be entered for the giveaway.
Am I allowed to participate?
Yeah, everybody's allowed to participate.
You're not going to win. He's not shipping to Canada. No.
Oh, man. No, you know what? I mean, ASL, obviously, ASL is the epitome of it's chess. It's chess, okay? And it's a competition game. But if you want to have fun without getting into serious rules, Conflict of Heroes, Lock and Load Tactical, and I mean, I'm not belittling these games. They're serious games. It's just,
to be fair, I think Lock and Load Tactical, it's gotten big. It's gotten really big. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely. But it's not going to tell you what kind of bullet are you using and what kind of wind in assault in Point Zurich because it's salty, the weather, so the drop of the bullet is heavier.
Yeah, I don't need to do that. Been there, done that, got the DD214 to prove it. So, I mean, it's for a game, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. But me, I want to concentrate more on the tactical side than I actually want to get into the minutia. But other people, again, like the minutia. Those are the rivet counters. They enjoy that.
And when I was younger, I enjoyed that minutia, Mo. I loved it. I love the technical aspect, the detail of it. Right now, like I said, I'm older, obviously, and I'm the oldest guy here, so please have respect. And it's just, I don't know. I don't want to do that. It's just, I just don't want to do that. I want to play a game like this.
What was that, tic-tac-toe?
Like pocket battles or something. What's it called? What's it called?
I can't read it. I see a tank.
Oh, wasn't that a Kickstarter?
Yeah. It's a stupid little game. And you know what? I hold it in my hands. I could play it on an airplane. I could play it while I'm going to sleep. It's fun. I want to have fun. I want to have fun.
Well, we have a question from Stigler. He asked, here's a contentious subject. Do any of you guys clip your counters?
I do.
I don't, but the wife does. She loves clipping counters.
Yeah.
Clippers for life, baby.
And clip them for me.
Yeah,
and here's a little tip for those of you kids at home. You can do this. It is safe to do on your own. If you don't already do this, you see on the front.
I don't like that one, Dan.
You see, no, not that. God, no.
That one sucks.
That one breaks all the time, Mo. It breaks all. This is solid steel.
This is I've had like, I don't know, 5-6 years without breaking. Now that I said that, you're going to make it break, and you're going to buy me new one if it happens. But here's the thing about this: you've got this metal plate on the front, right? And you get these two little rivets in there.
Right.
Here's a little hint: if you guys don't already do this, take some plastic, or clear shipping tape, and put it on here, and then cut, or on the sides, and then the lip right here. Make sure you remove it. That way your counters will slide right in. They won't get caught on these two rivets, and they'll slide in, slide off. It makes clipping your counters a lot faster, a lot easier. A lot of people, I'm sure, already do that, but I figured that out pretty early on. I was like, man, I keep catching my, counters on this thing. And I was like, oh, if I put some tape on it, it's going to be like glass. And sure enough, it is.
It's always better when it can slide right in.
And we're talking about ASL being nitty gritty and detailed, and we're talking about clipping counters and which counter clipper is better. Come on.
I'll tell you, along this subject of third-party stuff, what do you guys think about 3D printing? Because I've been doing a lot of that and incorporated into my gaming.
I think it's awesome.
I think it's fantastic. Anything that you can do to add into the game that makes your game better, go for it.
Like these little doohickeys that I printed for not Warhammer Warfighter to hold the cards, and then all the little bowls that I use to hold counters now. I just printed off a dice tower. There's so many little aspects for it. multiple games. And the shitty part is most of them are Euros, have the organizers that you can print out to put in the box to keep track of the counters better. I wish we could get some guys who are, good at 3D programming and designing and all that crap to come up with holders for these war games. Because tell me that games like Fields of Fire couldn't use some better organization,
Oh, yeah.
And you know what?
Fields of Fire I've got over here, and it's in the back on the bottom shelf over to the right. You're going to see Fields of Fire. Next to that is a 3-inch white GMT box with 5 counter trays in it.
Yes, of
That's
course.
just for Fields of Fire.
Yes, I've got the same. And Nate, you know what those guys for 3D printing would ask for if you'd ask that?
What? Money?
Yeah, yeah.
You're like a dog with a bone, man. You're
Don't
obsessed
get
with
me started. Stop it.
It's not that I disagree with you. Like I said, it's all the chicken and the egg. It's which comes first.
I like
You
eggs.
got to take her to dinner before you can pork the bone, man. You got to grease
Well, you've
things
got-
up a little bit.
There was something earlier that Dan brought up. He had mentioned Victory Point Games, and that's another big story from the past decade. Is Victory Point Games being bought out by Tabletop Tycoon, and then unfortunately Tabletop Tycoon doing as expected and letting everyone go, because Victory Point had a really varied and fantastic catalog.
Why do you buy something just to
But that's
the people were that's what you were buying.
You
And
know
as far as
why?
I know, they didn't even keep most of the IPs. So
You know why, Nate? I like it when you get angry and all that. You know what I'm saying? You know why?
you
know
get the angry Canadian happy.
Do you know why they can buy it and do what the hell they want with it? Because one, you're insignificant. You're a war gamer, so kiss my ass.
what were
Damn.
they after? What were they after?
You're
I don't know, but they were after Dan's anger. I think they got what they paid for.
What gets me, and Dan, you'll get what I'm talking about on this, right? Is when it came to Thunder in the East, I loved Thunder in the East. Friggin' love it. It was one of my year ends. All right. I love that game. I think it plays very well solitaire. And I talked to Alan Emmerich a couple of different times about the game. And my thing is for the sequel that's coming up, the Middle C, I forget the specific name of it. It's going to be coming out from GMT rather than Victory Point Games. That's fine and all, except I've never gotten a review copy of anything from GMT. I don't think they like me very much, to be honest.
Who here likes Nate? Raise their hand. I'll send you a free game.
But when it comes to Thunder in the East, to be quite frank about it, I kind of think they owe me a review copy of the sequel, because I did, I think, 11 or 12 part series on
But
Thunder
that was
in the
before
East.
GMT owned it, right?
Yeah.
Mo.
But I know I sold a buttload.
No,
of that game.
I'm not busting chops, Dan. I'm just looking at it from an honest perspective here. You're just on this tear about getting everybody paid.
I guess.
My thing is, yes, I do think that it would be a good gesture with how much I helped the first one succeed to let me do the same for the second.
Well, that again goes back to where there does need to be some improvement in the work between publishers and content creators, and how, we can all work together to do things better. Like, Thunder and East, for example, is a great example. You've got the new one coming out, the Middle C. Well, then a publisher, GMT in this case, should contact you and say, hey, listen, you did some great work on Thunder and East. We'd like to send you, a prototype copy or something like that to start shooting some videos for and drumming up interest or whatever stuff for the Kickstarter. If they went that route, if not, they're just going to do traditional publishing. Fine. You can just, do videos on that. And then maybe even talk to you about doing a walkthrough on how to play the game, like you've been doing with other games. That's fine, but that's something a publisher has to see a need for and has to reach out for, to you to do. It's
That
not
would
just
be
going to come out of thin air.
That would be a much different conversation.
Nate,
sure.
Nate, do you get in touch when you do your playthroughs, your 11-part playthroughs? Like, really? When you do your 11-part playthroughs, do you personally get in touch with the company and say that you're doing that?
Beforehand, no. Okay, so Thunder in the East was a Kickstarter. I backed the Kickstarter, got the game in, and that's when I did it. And when I really sat down with it, I was like, okay, I really like this. After I had finished it and I had a product to show, that's when I contacted Alan and I was like, hey, here's the list. I understand things have changed up a little bit since Victory Point Games was bought out, but I know that you're still working on the sequel to this. I would like to do a similar series for your sequel that I did for the first one. So can we arrange a review copy for that? And his answer was basically like, thank you for your work. GMT handles the review copies, not me.
No, but it was out of his hands. It was out of his hands. I'm not defending Alan, but he was in a business situation where, and I even approached him. It's out of his hands. Please deal with this person.
Sure.
Please deal with that person. So I don't think it was personal to you, Mo. You just caught him at a bad time. You caught him at a bad time in a situation where the companies were crossing over. And I mean, look where Alan is right now. He's out.
Well, I mean, to continue on with where I was going before we kind of derailed here.
I'm sorry. That was my fault for the side.
No. It was just we got the angry Canadian all angry again. But here's what I was going with is the loss of VPG, Victory Point Games, was really, a tough one to take. Great, catalog of games. It was the little company that could, and they did a great job.
That's right.
Unfortunately, that was derailed. But as happens in a lot of things, there was a void, but then it gets filled. And it was before they even before they went away, we had Hollenspiel, which is another small, publisher that came in a few years ago that makes some really unique, quirky games. Like you were talking about, Escape from Hades earlier, Dan. They make a lot of those games, and they're a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they take risks on games that maybe your standard publisher would not touch because they're different, and it's great that they're out there and putting out a lot of great games.
Oh no, I love Hollenspiel. I love Hollenspiel.
Yeah, I've done a couple of their games. I've liked everything of theirs I've done. I haven't done a lot, but a few.
Yeah. And once you get to know a guy like Tom Russell, you love Hollenspiel even more.
Yeah, no, Tom and Mary are two of the nicest people in the business. And let me tell you something right now. I've met a lot of people in the war game industry, a lot of people in the board game industry, and the war game industry, the board game industry is full of really, really nice people in my experience. The war game industry is filled with, in my opinion, and I'm a little biased because I'm definitely more of a war gamer than a hobby gamer. I think the war game industry is filled with the better people in the fact that it's a smaller community. Everyone knows each other and everyone understands that, these publishers want you to buy their product because they're a business. They need to stay in business. And at the same time, you know each other, war gamers know each other, and the publishers are war gamers. They're not any different than you and I, other than running a publishing company. And they love the products they put out. And, like Legion, Revolution Games, there's a lot of small publishers out there that put out some really fantastic product.
Yep. I mean, hey, I love small companies. I just did something. That's not a small company.
They're a small mom and
pop. They're a small company.
They're run by Dan and Sarah and Eric.
Oh, no.
Or not Eric, Kevin.
The way it's run, I'm sure it's almost a ma and pa shop. But the way I think about it, these guys are so professional, and they put out quality games. And the component wise, it's awesome component wise. Whether you like their games or not, that's subjective. But I really enjoy DVG games, and my God, the customer service, Sarah, that's ridiculous.
So Robert says he's met a lot of beers in the historical wargaming hobby, and whiskey. But the funny thing is they're not the only people that have fantastic customer support. GMT has fantastic customer support. L&L has great customer support. There's so many that because they're smaller companies, they know they need to keep you engaged as a customer because something negative happens and it can harm you. And on that note,
Just yesterday, Compass Games came out and they had FUBAR with their charge, with their credit card charge thing, and that was a bit of a mess. And I'm wondering what, if any, fallout will be from that.
I didn't hear about that one. I don't think I've got anything
You're talking
pre-ordered for
about
that.
GMT, Mo?
No, Compass.
Oh,
Was it for a specific game?
They were using the old pre-order system, and they had a premature credit card charge, which almost sounds like something that you need to go see a doctor about. But they, unfortunately, their credit card system charged for games that people had on pre-order, the games that are not even done yet. So that is something that has,
So like everything that was on pre-order suddenly charged all at once?
I can't tell if it was everything or not. I haven't dug into the specifics of it. I don't think they've even come out and said, let me see. I had something over here. It said, discovered today that their old pre-order system suffered a major glitch and ended up processing charge. Yes, it was on all pay later pre-orders. So yes, it was on all.
Okay, that's freaking horrible. I gotta
Yeah.
make sure that I didn't have anything pre-ordered.
Yeah.
I think Hearts and Minds was the only thing I had on pre-order from them.
jeez. Yeah, look, I'm sure they rectified it, or it's going to be rectified, because, hey, look, stuff happens, man. I mean,
that's more than stuff happens.
Yeah, that's a huge.
That's a massive screw up.
Because they gotta take and send out emails. Hey, we're getting ready to charge for this game, and then right there when it's charging time, you could cause someone some serious bank issues. Because let's say they overcharge someone's account because they weren't anticipating getting charged. What if they had multiple games on pre-order, right? And they charge someone $800-900 and they knock their account.
God. I didn't.
Yeah.
Are they going to be paying these people's bank fees because they can put the money back?
Life lesson here, kids. Never use your bank card. Use a credit card. Always firewall your money. Don't give them a debit card, because if you do, like Nate just said, you can get hit with $800-900 in charges, and that could put you in a bad spot.
Yeah, I never.
Yeah, but I refuse to carry a credit card anymore.
I never.
Credit card's the only way to go.
I basically just pre-ordered. What is it? Combat Commander, John Butterfield's new game.
Oh,
What is it?
No enemies here. Is that the game? Because Harold said if he gets charged early, he's going to be pissed. So maybe that is the game.
No, John Butterfield just put out a new game, Battle of the Bulge. The Commander.
yeah.
Kickstarter.
You know what? I just bought it because it was John Butterfield. I went blind, and I know I'm stupid doing it, but you know what? John Butterfield. I met the guy. What a sweetheart of a guy. I love the guy. I love his games. This is that. In my opinion, I don't know why I'm not going to say it.
He's got like a man crush thing going on over here.
Yeah, no, I've got a man crush with Harold Buchanan and John Butterfield.
No, I would definitely buy stuff. Like, if it has Butterfield's name on it, I'll get it, because Enemy Action Ardennes is like one of my all-time top favorites.
And regardless of the company who's publishing it, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Well, now that's a serious issue, though, that hopefully no one, I haven't heard of anybody directly being put in that situation like you were talking about, where they get charged $800-900 and it comes directly out of their bank account.
That would ruin me.
Well, that's why I said use a credit card, because you just pay off your credit card every month. You use your credit card to firewall all of your personal money. That's your outer wall. If that gets compromised, oh well, it's not your money, it's the company's money. They'll get you a new card.
I made that mistake when I was younger. I had the credit card, and then I had the credit card with thousands of dollars run up on it, and I paid that off and never looked back.
That's
discipline.
Discipline.
Yeah,
You're a
I
Marine.
got discipline now.
You're a Marine. How can you lack discipline?
I wasn't a Marine at the time. This was pre-Marine days. I was like, oh, that's a new computer. That's a new TV. It's like,
and
it's free money.
Harold Buchanan just said something. He said, if I love him as much as John Butterfield, then buy my game and prove it. Harold, how do you know I don't have your game already?
Which game?
Right. That's right.
Which game are you talking about, Dan?
I don't know what game.
So then you're just talking
hold
smack.
up. Go back to that thing for a sec. Have they put out a statement saying anything about rectifying the situation for the people that are watching?
They did say they had something on Twitter. I think someone else in the chat had said that they put it on their Facebook page as well, and they said that if you are willing to absorb the cost, then you won't have to pay again later. Although at this point, you have one glitch, or you're gonna have a second glitch and charge me a second time. That would be my
That's
thought.
what I'm saying.
I'll issue a refund. So
it's on you to contact them. So if you don't pay attention, you could end up getting charged. Like, they should be emailing people. They should be going out. If you were affected, they should email you and say, "Hey, you were affected by this. These are your options. You can."
I would think so.
that's the one that Harold's talking about right there. I had to get my left from my right differentiated there. You see that one?
Okay.
I just
That's
don't
for
have an
Dan.
eye shot. I don't have an eye shot.
Do you see it? Do you see
Yes,
it?
I see it. Liberty.
What is it?
It looks the Liberty one.
Yeah, Liberty or Death.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
Harold, I know the game.
I got that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I got it too, Harold. Relax.
That was actually the one that I played that first got me into coin games, because someone talked me into it, and I was like, "Wow, coin is awesome."
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
it's
I, got further into it.
it's unique. But yeah, that's one of those situations where, unfortunately, hopefully it does not, hurt anybody personally, because that could be a very bad situation.
Yeah, Sticker agrees.
Compass charge thing.
Look, if you make a mistake, shit happens, right? That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I get that. But it's on you to correct your mistake. It's not on the customer to figure out, oh, Compass charged me for something they shouldn't have. Let me reach out and unmess up their mistake. No, you did it. You take the time to contact everyone who was affected,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
No.
And people have lives. They can miss things.
Sure.
I didn't know about it, and I'm in the industry. I didn't know about what happened with it because I don't have time to sit there perusing Facebook and paying attention to every little thing that happens. And I don't take care of my banking stuff. I can't. I have no short-term memory.
Yeah,
My
I
wife
know.
takes care of that.
I know. I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. Thank God I didn't do any pre-orders other than the new one I just did with John Butterfield.
Well, you also have to think, what does that do for potential pre-orders in the future? Is that going to shake confidence in the consumer when it comes to Compass Games? Because, and could this happen with another publisher?
Well,
Things
it
that are going to be
has
floating.
not happened with another publisher, and yes, it will shake the confidence of the people pre-ordering in Compass Games. Period.
Mhm.
Time out. I think Sticker makes another good point, and this is another good point, and it's one that I've agreed with. The P500 system for GMT, I would much rather go ahead and just pay, be done with it, or at least have the option. Maybe I'm not required, but give me that option to go ahead and pay, so you don't decide, oh, we're going to charge on the 29th of the month when you don't get paid for another couple of days and your checking account's tapped out.
Well,
now.
devil's advocate here. Here's a reason why it's not prepaid. Say you want to prepay it now and it's not due for another 2 months, 3 months, whatever, because now you have, you're flush with cash. It's tax return time or something like that. Hey, I'm going to put on all of my P500s now. I don't care that it's not due till November. I'll pay for it now. Well, that game in November, there's a slip and it goes to January, to February or March next year, because that has happened. Development cycles are not as clear cut and cut and dried as everyone thinks. So now you have GMT or any company that's running a P500 style thing where they take a pre-order. Now they're holding on to your money, and now they're dealing with an irate customer. I paid you, and you were supposed to be done in November. Now it's 4 months later, and I don't have my game. Do you want to deal with that? It's better to just
they have estimates out already, and they
do
rarely ever make the estimate.
That's what I'm saying. The estimates are not hard. Hard lines,
which is fine. We understand that.
Not everybody does. I'm looking at it from, like I said, playing devil's advocate, looking at it from the company perspective. It would create a nightmare for them. It could.
Errands out there everywhere. There are going to be people who are going to be upset. There's people who are going to be upset because they didn't make their estimate regardless. But I will always err on the side of giving the consumer more control and more power in the situation than the business. And the consumer should be allowed to decide when their money is going to be charged to them. I firmly believe that should be a power in the consumer's hand rather than the company arbitrarily deciding a year from now, random day, this is when we're going to charge you. Because I know I've got games on pre-order on P500 from GMT, and I have no idea when I'm going to get charged for them, and I can't factor that into my bills.
Well, you do.
Savings and
monthly,
everything.
The monthly update that comes out from Gene.
That just like you were saying, the estimates aren't always right. So this month I factor in, I'm anticipating being charged for 1 or 2 games from them, and then it doesn't happen. So okay, now I got to roll this money over. What I'm saying is that hassle should not be on the consumer. If we're supporting the company, they should be bending over and taking as many steps as they can to make it easier on us to buy their products. And if we want to pay when we want to pay, to make it where we know, hey, I've got the cash and I'm giving it to you now, so I'm square. Give me my receipt. I'm good. I understand some people will be dicks, but I understand it can arrive whenever. Let me have that choice rather than leaving it to the wind on when I'm going to get charged. Because, yeah, I'll read the email when they send it, but I'm not always checking their thing. Well, I check it more often than most people, but devil's advocate, not always checking their little newsletter on when things are happening. And like I said, it should always be on the consumer to have that power, especially the power to decide when money's taken from their account.
I agree.
Take 2 out of 3.
But I win. My math. No, I'm not saying there's a right and wrong answer, although I'm right. I'm just saying that I get what you're saying, what you guys are saying. I agree with it, but that is already in place. For example, with GMT, Gene puts out that monthly update and says that month, here's what's coming out in the next 6 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, next 2 weeks or whatever. We're charging for this game. Well, it's going to ship within 2 weeks after that, and there's the baby. Hello.
I wanted to show off my baby. Yes, I'm a proud daddy.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Could you say hi? Could you smile? Say hi. Yay! She's got 2 teeth now. Yeah.
Future Wargamer.
Right. Love you, baby girl. Say bye-bye. I'll be in there in a minute, okay?
But
sorry.
No. That's a great little intro there for the future Wargamers of tomorrow. But I think that emails out there, on a monthly basis, it gives the updates. Now, granted, there is always room for possible improvement, but I think right now that the current situation is not too bad. I'm not unhappy with it myself, but again, I use credit cards. I don't use debit cards. I don't even carry a damn debit card.
To be fair, you're right that generally speaking, I do have at least an estimate of when I'm going to get dinged. But life happens. I can't always keep track of the gaming thing. That's why my point is that if possible, that control should always be to the consumer. They should always take that step to make things as easy on the consumer as possible, because if the process is easier for me, then I'm going to be more likely to patriate your company again. But if something happens, and even if it is my fault, I didn't leave enough in my checking account because I didn't anticipate getting charged and I get dinged, it might make me think twice the next time. Do I want to pre-order a game from this company, or do I just want to wait?
Yeah. Well, you can cancel, whenever you want, and it's not going to, harm you. The only thing you're going to do is you're going to miss out on the pre-order price and getting it sooner. But, there's a good point here. Mind Connect Gaming has posted saying, interesting. The guys are discussing this. I'm actually doing my first P500 right now for the Plains Indian Wars. It seems like it's been on P500 for a while and is crawling at a slow pace to the 500. That is one of the things about P500 is waiting for the 500, commitment cutoff that, GMT needs to be able to, dedicate a print slot for it. It's a business. You have to make business decisions. Sometimes games are taken off the P500 list because there's just not the interest for it for whatever reason. And maybe it'll be shopped around to another, publishing company that can do a smaller print run or whatever. They'll, retool it and bring it back 6 months, a year later, whatever. But there are, delays. Sometimes some games just don't get noticed by gamers, or it's not enough, interest for that game. And then you also have the development cycle, which is not as clear cut and easy as people, think. It's like, oh, just whip out the game, boom, it's out. It's like, we're not talking Euros here. Those games can generally be cranked out faster. The hobby games, not just Euros, but there's some really heavy Euros too. But war games have way more pieces involved. There's way more levers and switches to flip and things. You have your rule book, you have your playbook, or any extra books that come with the game, all your player aid cards, your counters, the maps, everything has to be checked, double checked, triple checked, tested, played. It's development team and the development work for war games is a lot more involved than people think, and it's generally done by people in their free time.
Okay, Mo, getting back to the fiasco that Compass Game had by charging people, blah blah blah. Did they put out a notice once this was done?
Yes. Yeah, they posted it yesterday.
Okay, because like I said, GMT posts once a month, like Gene does it once a month. So we know that every month Gene's going to put out something. So that's cool, whatever it is. Okay.
Well, something like that, don't take this the wrong way. Nothing has happened like this for GMT for anybody that may be coming into this a little bit later.
Right.
But if it were to happen to GMT or any other publisher, I think that they would handle it the same way as Compass did and make an announcement immediately, whether it was on their social media channels or through their newsletter or both. Actually, any and all would be the way to go. But before we get any further in that, I did want to mention there is something really new and really, really super cool that is happening with this area by me. Csw Expo Dallas is happening in March, and it's going to be very comfortable for me. It's March 6th through the 8th in Allen, Texas. And I am just excited because it's going to be the first Wargame convention that I could literally drive the 8 minutes to the front door from my door to the front door of the convention center to go and enjoy. So it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be awesome. I'm not going to be able to get to CSW in June, more than likely at this rate, but I'll be able to go to the one in March. So March 6th to the 8th, I'm going to put a link in the chat for those who are in the chat. If you're interested in joining, it's $45 a registration fee. There are hotels. There's a hotel right there, so you can go, and it is 24-hour gaming. So fantastic. And
are you going to WBC?
That's the plan. And being that we have Harold in the chat right now, don't forget the San Diego Historical Games Convention. Awesome convention on in November every year. It's on Veterans Weekend, so definitely make a effort to get out there if you can.
Now, Consim World in Texas.
Consim World Expo is in Tempe, Arizona in June, but there's going to be a smaller convention, a 3-day convention starting this year in Texas.
Why did they decide to go to Texas to do that?
Because John lives in Plano. Which is right next to Allen.
That's a good reason.
So it's like he's right across the street. So why not?
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun.
I mean, Harold's San Diego convention should come to Montreal.
Well, then it wouldn't be the San Diego convention. It'd be the Montreal convention.
He's got a point.
He's geography challenged. And I will be in San Diego in November. And Nate, are you going to WBC this year?
That is the plan. The family's planning on coming with me. She had a great time there when we went last year, so we're trying to set it up again this year, but we have to drive there, and it takes us about 8 or 9 hours to get there. So
yeah.
We're thinking about renting a van to go this time, because last time we were pretty well packed to the gills, and now we've got an extra kid to bring with us on this trip. But we had so much fun. And it was actually kind of cool being recognized, Yeah. We were walking along and some people were like, "Hey, are you Gimpy?" And some were, taking pictures with us. Although the funny part is up until that point, I hadn't been on camera very much. Only the wife had. So the people that recognized us more often than not recognized her and then realized who I was by the camera.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, somebody comes up, hey, man, are you Gimpy? It's like, that's a rude thing to say to me.
Yeah. 50-50. If they're right and I am Gimpy, they're like, hey, nice to meet you. And if wrong, they just think you're an asshole.
You could just screw with people and say, that's a really rude thing to say,
Could you say that? No, there were so many nice people, though. You're right. The Wargame conventions, everybody was so pleasant and easygoing and just fun. It was great to kind of hang out. I wish I could go to some more of these conventions, but I'm not going to San Diego.
Oh, then there you go. So San Diego Historical Games Convention will be in Montreal in 2047. You heard it here first, folks. So get in your early registrations now and make sure to add in the money for the T-shirt. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be yet. That'll have to be decided by Harold.
Hold up. I got to show you something since you mentioned T-shirt. Elise wanted me to show you guys. She got me something.
Nice. Very nice.
She actually got me a Gimpy Gamer T-shirt and established the actual day that I started my channel.
Oh, man.
Outstanding. The only thing it's missing right there is a cane. Should add a tilted cane on the side. That would have been a cool little touch.
That would have been. I was pleasantly surprised that she did that. She gave it to me on Christmas. I was like,
come on, Elisa's a rock. She's a rock. Yeah.
And then, going back to the San Diego Historical Games Convention for a moment, I got to give a major, tip of the hat to Harold. We were talking, Dan was saying, be an honorary Marine. Well, Dan, we said you're the honorary Marine because we want to have a court jester. But you know what? We've got Harold. We've got Harold, who really had the heart of a Marine for sure during his own convention. He was saying he was a little under the weather. I had done some interviews with some of the folks there, and as you've seen on the channel, and then I was going to interview Harold, but he begged off, says he wasn't feeling too good. He's fighting off a bug. He wasn't fighting off a bug. I messaged him when I got back in Texas. Said, hey, I got down. Sorry I missed you. I didn't see you around. I wanted to say goodbye. Had a great time at the con. He says, oh, I'm in the hospital. I'm getting ready to go into surgery. I was like, what? It's like, when I left you, you had a bug, and now you're getting like parts of your body removed. What the hell? And it turned out that he had to go in for emergency surgery, and thankfully everything was okay. But that's the heart of a warrior right there. And hopefully next year he'll be healthy and be able to enjoy his own convention.
Praying for you, bud.
No, it was not Ebola, Trevor.
Guys, I'm going to return. I shall be back.
Oh, no.
Is this a warning or just...
Please don't let that be a promise. No.
Is he off? I felt bad because I almost called him like a dwarf or something earlier, a hobbit.
I always do that with him anyway. But yeah, it was the gallbladder that Harold had removed. So that was a tough weekend.
My wife
Harold.
just had that done.
Really? Was it an emergency situation?
Yeah.
Or?
Right after the baby was born.
Oh.
Turned out she had some gallstones, and we had been home maybe like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks from the hospital from her having the C-section for the baby. And the next thing we knew, like, it was one evening and she's like doubled over and she's crying and she's clutching her chest and she's like, I'm in pain. So luckily enough, our neighbors were able to jump over and watch our kids. And the worst part is the hospital where we first took her to was not helping her at all. We had like a week-old baby, and we're trying to tell them, like, look, we need to keep her taking care of the baby because she's breastfeeding, and they weren't bringing her food, they weren't bringing her drinks, they weren't letting her store her milk, they weren't doing anything. They kept her waiting for like 12 hours for the surgery. They finally told us, it was wrong, that she had the gallbladder, whatever thingy. The surgeon, luckily enough, understood the situation we were in. We're like, look, we need this taken care of, and we need to get out of the hospital quick because we've got kids at home and we've got a newborn baby. She needs some downtime. She's been out of the hospital a lot. He's like, look, I'll stay late tonight and I'll get her surgery done so we can get you guys out tomorrow. And he ended up doing it. He stayed till like 1 a.m. so he could get her surgery done.
Wow.
And then we were discharged the next day. She took it like a champ, though. A few tiny little pinpricks. You can't even tell she had the surgery now.
Oh, that's good. That's a tough deal. But
so that's what Harold had.
Yeah, same type of situation, and he was struggling. You could tell it was the weekend was going on. He was having a hard time talking, keeping it together, but he did a really great job. And
yeah, that shit hurts.
Yeah, it's not pleasant at all, especially when you and of course at Amazon the weekend of the year you've been planning for all year, your convention, your own convention, and this happens and it's like, really? Could you have done it like next week? Not this week, but unfortunately that's the way it works.
Murphy's Law. And you're right, Harold, they were stronger.
Hey, Nate.
What?
The microphone, I can still hear you calling me a goddamn dwarf.
No!
Goddamn dwarf. He just called you a dwarf.
Yeah. So, Nate, when I'm going to see you, I'm going to bite you right in the nuts.
You know, I'm just picking, man. I was just talking.
I'll pick two cheeks. Don't worry about it.
Oh, damn. Hold up. I mean,
okay, so one other question here. What is everybody looking forward to in 2020? Wargame wise.
I'm looking forward, actually, the WBC, man. I really, really enjoy that.
Because people recognize you. And then you had your arm wrestling tournament. It wasn't really much of an arm wrestling thing. Yeah. It was just like,
I told you the purse wasn't worth it.
Okay.
So Dan, you're actually coming to it this year?
I hope so, man. I hope so.
And bring your purse, and you'll be.
Oh, that's good. I'm looking forward to it. There's so many people that you feel like you know, you talk to them a lot, you work with them, and all this other stuff. But it changes it when you finally get to press the flesh and get to actually meet them.
Yeah.
So I've been looking forward to actually meeting you face to face. Maybe not so much now.
It'll be more like face to chest, I think.
Like I was buddies with Mo before we actually got to meet, but then when we got to hang out at the WBC, it was like we were reuniting with a long lost friend. Me and him just clicked.
That's the way I feel. That's the way I feel.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is there's also Harold mentioned here WBC Gen Con events. They started a thing last year at Gen Con, the Insurgency in Indy, and it's great to see a small but growing Wargame contingent at Gen Con, which is just a monstrosity of a convention. So it's like really in the big scheme of things, it's like very small in comparison to the masses that are there, but it all starts with the first step, and that's great to see that first step taken.
Did Harold start that?
Harold and the Players Aid guys, and I think a few other people, kind of got in. Dave Thompson, I think, was one of them too. Kind of all got in, and this thing just was a genesis from this conversation we're all having, and just blossomed from there.
I think that's fantastic.
The Players Aid guys have an unfair advantage. There's two of them. Hard enough to run a channel by yourself. I'm going to catch those guys one day, and they put out so much stuff.
They're English, man. It doesn't matter.
Well, one's English. Well, one's American. They're both American.
Grant's English too.
Look at you with the little bit. Hey.
And by the way, this is a fountain pen. It's a German fountain pen. It's a Lamy. And the 14-karat gold nib. And
the hell's a nib?
I'm hoity-toity.
That's the thing that you write with. That the ink comes out of.
I just call that a pin.
Yeah, well, whatever.
You got to remember, I'm American. All right, good.
What about you, Nate? What are you looking forward to in 2020?
Well, like he said, WBC, if you're talking about game-wise,
I
don't know. There's a few on my radar. I kind of just let the games wash over me and see what pops up. I'm looking forward to finally getting the production copy of World at War 85 because I put so much work into that. But I can't really say that's like looking forward to because I've been playing it for like over a year now. I've had a copy for a while. But to see how it's all finally turned out will be great. And I am probably the one biggest on my radar that I can kind of think about right now is the Middle C that we were talking about earlier. Because like I said, Thunder in the East for me was such a surprise on how well it played, how well it flowed together, how the designers had taken the steps to make the game as smooth as possible for its size. Sure. Like the fact that they had the dice that weren't dice, they were just there to help signify supply points. Right, so you could kind of, at a glance,
see where the supply areas were, and you knew so many hexes out because I had the numbers on there. Radius is 6 hexes, 8 hexes, whatever it was. That really made the difference for me on that game. So I'm intrigued to see how the next one's going to follow it up when the first one played so well in the first place. My only concern is there's a different publisher putting out this one versus the first one. So are the components going to line up? Because I want to be able to lay out Thunder in the East and then the Middle Sea and be able to have a huge game if I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? But it would require that the components be relatively on par with each other.
You're talking about GMT. Wow, because they have their own machine in China doing their own things. So
see, that's the thing, is it's not that I don't like their components.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I mean the VP game, a Victory Point game by Frank Chadwick. The chits were made out of the laser cut counters. Is that right?
No, I don't think they were laser cut.
No,
They were
die cut. They were die cut.
They were die cut.
Yeah,
I don't see why GMT can't match that.
They will.
It's a finagly thing, basically. Like,
Are you talking about the fiddly little counters, the tiny counters?
Yeah, I want to be able to not tell the difference between what came in this box and what came in this box, besides the units themselves.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, Nate.
Well, there's going to be some differences because things have changed, and a good example is one of the unboxings I'll be having up soon is for Next War Korea 2nd edition. And the Next War Korea 2nd edition, there are some changes to the counters and to the box. The box gets the nice thick GMT 2-inch box that we love, that big, thick, heavy-duty box, compared to the other box, which was kind of that thinner, like MBT box. It's not as thick and sturdy. But they also changed the counters. Now the counters are more like you see in Silver Bayonet and all the others, that thicker chipboard type of counter versus the white core, which was in the other versions of Next War. And it's one of those things where I know right away, I was like, wow, these counters are much thicker than the previous versions of Next War. And so there's going to be a difference. Now, it's not like you play them across the board, but the supplements, they are used, the counters are used in different games. And then there's some errata counters that will, make their way into different parts of the game for other games. So there's going to be a little bit of mismatch with those counters for a while. And that's just something that happens with productions, as it changes over the years. Because like I said, Next War Korea came out in 2012 originally. Now it's 2019. So there's going to be some changes.
I guess you're kind of right. I've seen the same thing with Warfighter, because some of their first cards aren't as good as their later on production.
Sure.
And I hate to say it, but some of the earlier ones are easily noticeable compared to the others. And it doesn't detract from the game as a whole. It's just kind of like one of those little niggles that eeks at the back of your head.
Higler brings up a good point. The latest GMT die cuts have been great. Are you guys mad when it's not necessary to clip edges? Because he's kind of like Dan. Dan is on this thing about, you shouldn't be, you should be getting paid. And Stigler's on this thing, you shouldn't be clipping. Well, you know what? I still clip them, and
I'm glad.
Wait, you clip the pre-rounded ones?
No, not the pre-rounded ones. The ones that have the perfect edge. Because these new GMT die cuts, I've even said in my unboxings, they're to the point where they literally almost fall out. They're not to that Legion Easy Punch level yet. That was ridiculous. You literally could take those. Did you ever have any of those games from Legion? They wrapped them.
Yeah.
The counter sheets. Because if they didn't, they'd be all over the box. So you take the wrap off real gently.
TVG should have done that with Nimitz.
Well, yeah. But you take the counter sheet and you just unwrap it, and then you just go bloop, and everything just falls out. That's how easy they fall out.
Yeah, but you know what, Mo?
GMT's kind of like that, but you still have to push them out.
You know what, Mo?
Yeah.
You're paying for that wrapping.
Hey, I'm paying for the whole thing.
Yeah, you're paying for wrapping. It's labor, baby.
Yeah, and I pay for it. And
I would rather them easily fall out versus the other way where you have to worry about ripping them.
Yeah,
or, you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to hack them with the damn X-Acto. Yeah.
Let's not name any companies.
Actually, you coughed well enough. I didn't catch that.
That's good.
I mean, we all
Ay,
have
ay, ay.
our favorites, but I gotta say, I think some of the best that I've seen here recently is the Conflict of Heroes 3rd edition.
They're
Yeah,
really thick.
that's awesome.
Yeah, their components are top notch. I actually felt bad because I dinged them on their cards. I
Uh-huh.
was like, their cards are so thin. And Uva contacted me. He's like, they're thin because they're plastic, dummy. And I was like, oh shit. And
That sounds like Uva.
I actually went back and I looked at it and I was like, I'll be damned. I was like, these are a better component. They're not cardboard. These are plastic. So I actually did a little quick 2-minute video update. I was like, I shouldn't have dinged them on it. And I actually showed how you could dip the card in water and it wasn't going to get messed up.
You know, Uva is obsessive. So if it doesn't go, like if the board is a little bit warped, Uva's going to ship back the whole thing. That's why we wait 10 years for a new edition, because Uva is obsessive. And you know what? Good, because we get awesome components from Academy Games. It's just insane.
Yeah. I got to say, that's one thing I know when it comes to them, that whatever I get from them is going to be top notch.
Absolutely.
I don't have to worry about the
Absolutely.
Well,
quality.
I'm gonna just say go back to the Next War Korea for a second because of the difference in the counters. Now, this is personal preference. This is not a negative thing. It's just personal preference. I like the white core better than I like the new counters. They're thicker. The counters are thicker. I don't always love thicker counters, and I actually like the white core counters because, okay, Stigler, you ready for this? They clip easier. They look nicer. I like that. But I also like when you're dealing in stacks, it's a little bit thinner, which makes the stacks more manageable than the thicker counters. Not that it's a bad thing. It's again, personal preference. I'm not saying it's a bad decision or anything like that. And it's just a production upgrade. As years go by, production things change. But just so bear that in mind with the new Next War Korea, you're going to be a little surprised when you see the awesome, thick box and then the slightly thicker counters.
Well, the only white core that I know that I've ever had was a DVG Rommel, the deluxe version. Other than that, I haven't seen any white core.
Yeah, there's been like a lot of magazine games use them and stuff like that. They have a little bit thinner, but I actually just like those counters.
Okay.
Just personal taste.
I think they should use them just depending on the game itself. If you're going to have counters that stack up on a hex, go with a white core since it'll be a little bit thinner, a little bit easier to manage. If you're going to have counters that don't stack, like a game like Unconditional Surrender, which doesn't stack as much, go with the thicker counters. Go gameplay wise.
Yeah, well, Trevor said he's going to head out, and thanks for stopping in there, Trevor. Appreciate it, and hopefully you'll come by next time we decide to do this again. We're not sure exactly. This is kind of an experiment, so we're going to see how well it goes and what the response is from everybody. But being that we just said that, let's get some questions from the audience. Any questions you guys have or any comments you want to make about anything that we've talked about in the show so far?
Well, and Stigler has
Stigler's like you right now. He's talking about pre-round encounters, and then he's sitting there going, but I play on Vassal. I want to have somebody come up with a clipping mod for Vassal, so that way anybody that he joins in someone's game, they're pre-round encounters.
I gotta be the only guy that doesn't use Vassal. The only thing I use Vassal for is to strip images for the games.
Good thing you said images.
Yes, images. Yeah, I do my stripping off camera. That's why I got so many kids.
Yes, we use tweezers. How could you not use tweezers?
I actually had to do a video one time telling
about your
people
giant tweezers.
About my giant tweezers, because everybody kept asking me, where the hell did you get those tweezers? Where'd you get the tweezers? Like, Amazon, they're $8. Actually.
These are not the only ones I use. These are kind of just, oh my good Lord.
That's huge.
That's one. This isn't the one I use regularly.
Those are lobotomy tweezers.
Yeah.
And reach out and grab a Dan with one of these. Well, if you're playing a big game, right, and it's a big map, you got to reach across the table, and if you're not very well balanced, you got to have a tweezer so you can reach out and touch somebody.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you're talking about tweezers. Carl Paradis, the designer of the No Retreat series, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's about an hour away from me, so we're friends. And what he does is he buys 2 sheets of counters from the same game and sticks them on, glues them on each other so he doesn't need tweezers because they're thick enough so he can grab them with his hands. And that's one thing that pisses him off is tweezers.
But what if the counters are double? Well, I guess it wouldn't matter if he's gluing.
It doesn't matter. That's right. Yeah. And you know what? I've benefited from his double counters because he's given me many games and the double counters. And let me tell you something. It's really nice.
Yeah. If it works for him, it works for him. I don't have money to spend on games like that.
The general tweezers, though, these are good. These are, kind of your standard tweezer that you can use, but it doesn't work for excuse me, every size counter. So the general ones that are on they're black with the yellow grips on the side on Amazon, they're like $8-9 or something like that. I've got I think 2 or 3 pairs of those. Those are the best for using, for every, that's the best general purpose one for all size counters, because like I said, these ones don't always work with every size counter, and the other ones do because they have a wider mouth on them. I guess you could say that the gap is wider, so you can easily pick up. Yeah, and then you can have those ones which they use to do lobotomies, but
it's the Marine way. Bigger is better.
But it's those are the things, and then of course, as we get older, how many people use magnifying glasses?
Not yet.
Well, you don't even wear glasses, so you don't have to worry. about
I do.
I felt like I was old now. I went and got a pair of reading glasses so I could read friggin' GMT's rule books.
Nate, how old are you? Nate, how old are you?
38.
You're a young pup, man. God,
it happens.
Look at this shit. All right, their friggin' text is so damn small.
That's not that small. It's only small because your arms are too short. You can't go out there like this anymore to read it. That's the problem. It's not your eyes. It's not the print. It's your arms are too short.
Friggin' like GMT's rule books always remind me of sitting in college. I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting there reading the rule book and I'm like, falling asleep on it. It's not like the game. There's nothing wrong with a game or anything like that. It's just like the style and the font and everything of the pages themselves. I just feel like I'm reading a textbook.
It's war games, people. It's war games.
Yeah.
Have you gotten Red Storm?
No, I haven't got that one.
Okay, because I was going to say that would probably be, along those lines. That would probably make you fall asleep because that's a really dense rule book. But
isn't that Harold's game? Red Storm is not a Harold's game.
No, that's Douglas. What's his last name? Bush, I think. It is based on the Downtown system that is the new modern era war over Western Germany in 1987. That sitting behind me on the shelf over there. But
I don't know. It sounds like a Harold game.
So Harold says he sits in college every day and it's nothing like GMT.
Yeah, because he gets paid.
Well, Stigler says he used to have 2019 vision, but it's 2020. You should be seeing better. So, bad joke. So
that was a bad joke.
It was. That's why I said that. I had to say it, and then I had to, give the disclaimer. It was a bad joke. But as far as like reading, I actually have my reading glasses as well, because older you get, this is where you get to hide them though, because you have progressives, which are nightmares to wear sometimes. And,
yeah, progressives. It makes me puke. Yeah,
I'm having a hard time with this new prescription because it's very difficult to. I mean, I can read fine, but it's very difficult at night to drive. Not very difficult, but it's uncomfortable because it's much more blurry than it has been in the past. Yeah. So I don't like that myself, but that's the new prescription, unfortunately.
Not a problem I have to deal with
yet. Hopefully, you never will.
I haven't driven in years.
Well, no, not the driving. I'm talking about the vision. Yeah, I know, not the driving. But.
Yeah.
Gimpy, that kills me. That kills me, man.
Dude, it's a pain in the butt to not be able to drive.
No, I know.
Honey, can you take me to go play with my friends, please? I feel like I'm 17 years old asking if I can leave the house. She is actually really good when it comes to that because she'll take me out to the game store. I'll go play. Hey, no, I'm not gonna waste some money on that. It's actually turned into a thing. When I go to like my game nights at the game store, Gamers Armory, North Carolina, really recommend if you guys, in the area. she'll drop me off, and then she'll take the kids to go to Barnes & Noble or McDonald's. And Bradley's gotten to where he loves that. He thinks of it as old McDonald days.
Nice.
So he'll go get his old McDonald's toys. Kids have fun, and then they'll come pick me up afterwards. And
see, now you got the kids on board. So now when you want to play games, you say, "Go tell mommy you want old McDonald days," and then she'll be like, "Okay, well the kids want to go to McDonald's. You know what? I was thinking about going to Gamers Armory tonight. So hey, it's a win-win." And then she's like, "You pulled this off, didn't you?" Yes, I did.
Nate, Elise is a saint.
Oh yeah, she's great.
She's a saint.
She stuck by me through so many things. I mean, we've been together since 2005.
She's a saint, and I don't even know her.
And built for speed too, buddy. It makes life a lot better when you're married to a pretty woman.
Well, that's the thing that we'll all hopefully be able to enjoy at WBC. And the plan is, if we are all at WBC, is to do this live like we did last time with a bunch of people and have some fun with it. Now, Harold's still in the audience. I want to ask Harold, are you going to be able to make it to WBC? I know you'll be doing the Gen Con thing, and they're very close together. So some people are trying to work it where they go to WBC at least for a few days and then go to Gen Con. Anybody else in the audience going to WBC or Gen Con?
The Players 8 are doing exactly that.
Yeah. Stigler, are you coming to anything?
Gen Con. It's too many people.
Yeah, it's too many people. It is. And it's also the scheduling is tough.
Like when we've been to sports games, football games, stuff like that, it's harder for me to get around as it is. And then when you have so many people on top of it, I've actually been knocked down because people haven't been watching where they're going, and they kick my cane out from underneath me, stuff like that. So I try to avoid the large groups like that. That's why I like the WBC, because it's a convention that's a little bit smaller, and it tends to be an older demographic, so they're easier going, more focused on the games themselves instead of like drinking and partying and all that type of crap. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Still drinking and partying.
WBC, you get to meet some serious grognards at WBC, man.
And then there's Dan. But we have... So Harold's going to be there. It looks like Dean is going to be there as well. And who else is going to be there? I know Dan will hopefully be there.
Hopefully.
Nate will hopefully be there, and I will hopefully be there. That's the plan, at least right now, for all of us to be there. So hopefully we can get everybody here to join in and have a little party, a little celebration.
You were with us, weren't you, Mo, when we did that game by Ray? You know what I'm talking about?
Which game?
Dude's name was Ray. It was some kind of Euro-y type game. It was a very early prototype.
Yes.
That was Elise's favorite moment from the WBC, because she never experienced that. She never experienced the prototype aspect. Mm-hmm. So for her to kind of see behind the scenes, like, this is how a board game's made, this is like a play test of it, she just thought that was the neatest thing in the whole world. So she's looking forward to that. She's like, let's do a play test. Let's find something. I'm like, that was a rare occurrence. That was a special treat. That wasn't something that was kind of arranged. It kind of happened.
Well, yeah, sometimes they just happen, but excuse me, there are always prototypes out there to play. Played Versailles 1919 a couple of years ago at WBC with Mark and the Players Aid guys. All four of us played, and that was in a really good spot at that point. There were still some things that were being worked on, and Mark was taking notes on it, but you could see the direction of the game and how it was progressing, and it looked like a really interesting game at that point. But I know Harold has one out for South China Sea that is still being worked on. And Versailles 1919 should be publishing, I believe, sometime this year, should it not?
What is the South China Sea getting a remake, second edition?
No. South China Sea is Harold's game. That's that one of the lunchtime games, the shorter format, smaller form factor, shorter format game. That's
Am I thinking of the wrong one? Isn't that the one that was based off of like Empire?
You're thinking
of
of Compass. No. Are you thinking of Compass Games, South China Sea, that was based off of Breaking the Chains?
Yeah, Breaking the Chains. That's it. That's
that's the Compass one. This is Flashpoint, South China Sea.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one then. No
offense,
offense,
that's on the P500.
Hard to keep track of everything.
There was a prototype by Ben Hull. There was the Fields of Fire Battle of the Bulge. And for me, that was I'm interested in that.
Oh, there's a lot. The Atlantic Chase coming up from GMT Games. I'm interested in that one.
Yeah, all the World War III games that it's like
Next War Iran.
well, that was asked to Mitch if he had planned a next war Iran, and he had said at this point no, and this was a few months ago. I would think that would be a very plausible game, not just because of current events, but it would have been plausible anyway.
Yeah, if they tried right now, someone would pitch a fit over it, saying it's
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it would be. But when you look at all of the games that are in the series already, they're all plausible. It's all things that could happen.
Time out. Look what Mad Dog said.
Oh my God.
Oh, Mad Dog, did you not hear what we were saying before about the...
I don't think he was on when we were talking about that.
Oh, well, sorry, Mad Dog. But we did have a conversation about that earlier that unbeknownst to a lot of people, there was how do they put it? Unexpected pre-charge or something like that. I forget that's the proper English, but the way they put it. So it was an issue that they had with their charging, their company that does the charges, and unfortunately they charged 4 games when people were not expecting it, and you happen to be one of them.
Yeah. So you have to contact them and say, "Give me my money back."
Oh man.
Or if you can, take it, as they said, if you can absorb the cost, then to go with that. And Harold's given us an update. He says that he thinks the art is finished for Versailles, and Flashpoint South China Sea has not gone to art yet. So, and he says there is no shooting in Flashpoint South China Sea, but it is a war game. And that,
is Versailles the next coin game coming out? Is that
no? That's the Versailles is the game from Mark Herman and Jeff Engelstein.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about that we played at WBC a couple years ago. And so Mad Dog says he just ordered $125 of micro armor earlier this morning. So oof. Then Robert saying deep breaths, remain calm. Yeah, he bought micro armor and he got charged the 2 games from Compass. So it's kind of getting slammed at the same time for 2 different things because he was not expecting. Micro armor is micro armor.
Like
you mean like little tanks?
Little tanks, yeah. Micro armor. Yeah, when you want to play, was it 6mm? I think it is, or something. Micro armor.
I was surprised to find out how expensive that crap is.
And first of all, it's so tiny, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's why it's called micro.
I know, but I mean, how can you see it?
Which is why you need to get a 3D printer. You can make it for pennies.
And some people paint that stuff, man.
Yeah, I've painted some stuff. I won't paint that small because.
Yeah, but micro armor, it's like painting your whatever.
You can speed paint an army really, really fast. Just line them all up and just smack them with the airbrush and then dry brush and maybe a wash. You're done.
So I guess no detail is involved there, right?
It's micro armor.
I've actually got a pack of those, the planes that DVG sent to Elise, and they're all like covered in glue and sparkles. And they sent glitter. They sent that to her because she was saying how DVG needed to put more color. She's like, I want some rainbows and some color, and like some sparkles. So Sarah painted those up in glitter and sent them to her.
And that's what I love about DVG. It's family,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those little steps that they take. That's why I'll always be loyal to them.
That's right. And you're right, Nate.
Yeah, no, and I just actually did an unboxing, which will be coming out soon too. Shadow War. I picked up Shadow War because I wanted to. I haven't played. I did not get a copy of PMC, and I wanted to check out the Shadow War, the Warfighter system again. And I like what it's doing. It sounded interesting. Where now sound is the big key. So you want to try to be stealthy as possible because obviously the title says Shadow War. So you want to make sure you're quiet. Use subsonic ammo, things like that. Because if you got to go loud, it's going to raise the alarm. So you want to try to, do everything by stealth and even pausing sometimes and just letting the sound die down a little bit. Things like that, which I think is pretty interesting.
You always need to go loud. Handle it the right way. Go loud.
Make sure you're not showing the serial number on that.
You just said subsonic
ammo.
Subsonic bullets or something? What?
Subsonic ammo.
Yeah.
Keeps
it from breaking the sound barrier.
Yes.
So you don't even need a suppressor.
No, you need a suppressor.
It's still loud.
It's still loud. Suppressor with regular traditional ammo is loud. It's not like it is in a movie. You add a suppressor and you add subsonic ammo on, say, something like an HK. All you're going to hear is, and that's going to be the action of the bolt. That's the only sound you're going to hear.
You Americans, you're crazy, man.
How are we crazy?
Okay.
Because us Canadians, all we do is smoke weed. We smoke weed because it's legal, and we're all happy. And
no, you're not. You're the angry Canadian. You were bitching, moaning, crying, and complaining for the first half of the show about getting paid. Somebody give him $1 already.
I saw a good meme that analyzes it really well. It showed Europeans as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the movie going, "Oh, blasters, this is not refined at all," or whatever it was. And then below that, the Mandalorian with saying, "This is Americans. Weapons are our religion.
Guns are part of my religion."
Weapons are part of my religion.
I was talking to Harold once, and I said, you guys, you Americans, you like to flex this and this and that. What gives you the right? I know what Harold said, because we can.
Yeah.
See, now Nate is reaching up onto the thing here to pull his 6-shooter out. I'm leaving my HK over here out of the way because I'm not going to do that.
That's just my side piece.
Yeah, that's just my closest to me piece at the moment. But, hey.
See, that's the thing, Dan. Marine, we got weapons in every room of the house. Doesn't matter where you enter, I'm going to get you.
Always be prepared.
It's so weird for me, but I understand. And you know what? It's kind of cool, man, that you can pull out a 6-shooter. And what is it, made out of silver? What do you got, a pearl handle too on that thing, man?
You got to remember, the reason, because of Americans and our mentality, is the reason the rest of the world isn't speaking German and Japanese. So you got to.
It's funny because I'm interviewing, what's his name? Bruce Garrick, Space Rumfeld. And I asked him, if in 1941 the Germans had the resources, would we be eating sauerkraut right now?
No.
Well, I mean,
the Germans didn't have the Marines.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of what ifs you can always make, about the different parts of, history, how things could have changed. But, and, there's a good point in there. There's one funny point. Harold says, I have a single shot in my butt, and that is usually only after eating beans. But you have Mad Dog, he's saying he lives in Virginia and stuff's about to hit the fan over there, and that is true if you've not been paying attention. That
Mad Dog, I got your back. I'm in North Carolina.
Getting pretty tense there, but the best part about it is you have constitutional sheriffs that are following the Constitution, and they're ready to deputize people, and they actually had counties. I mean, just think about how crazy this is. You have counties that are voting on resolutions to create militias. Now, that's great that they're doing that to protect the constitutional rights, but it's crazy that at this point we have counties that are doing that because the governor and the legislature are going completely, different direction. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail and nothing will come of it. But that's why we have those rights there to protect, people from having things get out of control.
What's funny is they don't even comprehend the fact that the Second Amendment exists solely due because of what they're trying to pull.
Yeah.
Government overreach and violating the Constitution. So they couldn't do that again. The government's supposed to fear its people, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Mo, you sent me a video of that church shooting that just happened.
Yeah.
And those 2 guys that were shot, wow. It couldn't have been helped. But that other guy who shot the killer and the other people in the church that pull out the guns, there was such control there. And if that can happen all the time, that's awesome. That's
the way it is. There's always the people that are gonna, they have an anti-gun mentality, or they're just, pro-gun. Not rights, but the pro-gun laws and stuff, and they are always saying, "Oh, there's going to be shootouts everywhere." Well, concealed carry is very prevalent here in Texas, and there's not shootouts at the OK Corral every other day. That is an instance that was just terrible situation. This guy had major issues, and he went in there with evil in his heart, and he did bad things. And thankfully, there was someone there to prevent him from going any further, because he was actually turned up towards the pulpit to go after the people up in that direction, and that guy just took the right shot, and it just shows you how bad things can go in a very, very short time span. That was 6 seconds all told from the first shots till the last shot.
What I was surprised is that the other people in the church just pulled out their guns, and they didn't go haywire. They didn't start shooting everywhere. It was just like, they're ready. If anything happens, they're ready. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool.
You have to, if you're going to carry a firearm, you have to understand that there's a responsibility to yourself and to others.
To know how to use it.
Well, not just know how to use it, but know how to be safe. Obviously you don't want to fan anyone. You want to make sure the muzzle's pointed down. You have to have good muzzle and trigger discipline. You also have to know your backstop, all those things. And that's a lot of things to take into, account in a compressed, high stress environment. And those people all did it very well. Yeah. But that's what concealed carry people generally, they have that mindset. You're going in there, you're carrying a gun for a reason, protect yourself. You're not wanting to shoot people up. No one ever wants to shoot someone. It's just, you're forced into a situation. Evil people want to shoot people, but good law abiding people don't want to do that. They only carry just to protect themselves, their family. And just they're a massive help to, situations like that one. If that guy did not get off the shot, take that other guy out, there were other people there that could have engaged him and saved people's lives.
It's funny because being Canadian, we're not into guns, this and that. But when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, man, I want to carry a gun just to protect myself or to blow some guy's fucking brains out because he's going to kill other people.
Well, the number one thing, everyone is armed with the best weapon you can ever have, your brain. And that's the one thing you always want to do is always make sure you're paying attention to your surroundings, head on a swivel, just notice everything going on around you. And you'll read a lot of situations before you ever end up in a bad spot by avoiding them. Trust your spidey senses. Everyone likes to joke around about that sixth sense that tells you don't go in there. Well, don't. It's a survival mechanism we have inherent in our, biology over years of evolution. So listen to your inner voice and don't go into a spot that you feel is bad. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't be buried in your phone. Just common sense stuff, really. So you don't have to carry a gun to be safe. In your situation, you can't. So don't worry about it. Just always have your, mind aware. And I think it was Mad Dog that said it, chaos. Engage your brain before you engage your weapon. So
that's the biggest reason they have training in the military. So that your reaction is muscle memory, not thought process. It takes too long to think about shooting back. You need to react. Automatically.
I don't know. I agree.
Respond, not react.
Yeah. That's why I am not a civilian today, because I am an honorary Marine. Is that right?
Marine Jester.
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll blood you in.
Is it gonna hurt?
Yeah, it hurts. You don't bleed for nothing. Come on, buddy.
Hey, do you want to be a private or do you want to be an NCO?
I want to be.
There's a reason it's called the blood stripe.
You want to be the NCO, right?
Well, NCO is a non-commissioned officer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I don't understand is he's a non-commissioned officer. So that's a negative, isn't it? A negative?
No, you don't have a commission, but you can give lawful orders. Non-commissioned officer.
Okay, so what am I going to be?
You want to be an NCO, right?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah. So you got to get blood pinned on the arm and the leg.
Okay,
that's
so
what the blood stripe's there for.
If I go to a WBC, we can make this an exhibit, and I want to become.
We'll make a video.
I want to become an honorary Marine.
The thing is, Dan, he's not lying. Marines really do this. When you are in your
stripe, you got to run the gauntlet.
I'll do it live.
You take the beating.
I'll take a beating.
We'll get every Marine that happens to be at WBC, and we'll have to find out.
We got to bring some ranks so we can pound it into them.
Yeah. And, there's different ways of doing it. You can get the blood pin, which is the chevron that goes on your collar. And, your platoon leader and your platoon sergeant generally will be the ones that put that on your collar and then bam that into your chest, or not your chest, but your collarbone. And then everybody the same rank or higher lines up in a gauntlet. And they pin on the virtual stripes on your arm. And then they also give you a shot in the leg with their knee to pin on the blood stripe.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurt worse than the things.
You
Kind
know,
of like getting a Charlie horse a whole bunch of times.
as long as I can be a non-civilian, I'll do it.
And Mad Dog says, long as it's not blood eagled, he'll be okay. And you don't know what blood eagled is yet because you haven't watched Vikings.
And Mad Dog, I'm actually near Raleigh.
Oh man, this is a gas.
So,
Well,
all right. Yeah.
It's getting late. I'm going to have to hop off.
Yeah,
here.
I was just going to say that we're gonna shut it down. We've actually gone a little bit longer than we were intended, but we had fun and we had a bunch of people on. So, thanks a lot, guys, for coming in tonight. Really appreciate it. And we'll be doing this again soon. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments, post them down below in the video and let us know what you thought, what you'd like to hear next time, and we'll get together with all of us again and have another chat and maybe some whiskey.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right, Nate, Dan, thanks a lot, guys, for coming.
Bye, guys.
Really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you guys at WBC. Night.
All right, take care, guys.